Welcome back. You're listening to Chat with Women, and I'm Pam.
And I'm Rochelle.
And now we'd like to introduce to you Lorraine Howell, who is the author of Give Your Elevator Speech a Lift, 2nd edition, and the owner of Media Skills Training. And the book that we're going to be talking about today is How to Craft Your Own 30-Second Commercial. This book is now being used in Good. That was good.
That's
communication classes. Who is a good communicator? Me.
You're a good
communication classes at Cornell University. Lorraine, this book is been out for how many years? So welcome, Lorraine, to Chat with Women.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. It was originally published in 2006, so just over 4 years.
So it has been out for a long time.
Right, and just adopted this January by Cornell University.
That's very impressive.
It's very exciting.
Well, when we read that, we thought we have to put that in the introduction because that's really impressive. Before we start talking about the book, though, let's talk about your company, because in the beginning of the show today, we talked about the fact that you helped Rochelle and I at least 4 years ago create our elevator speech, but you do a lot more than just that. So talk about your company.
Thank you. Well, I'm a recovering television producer. And what I've been doing the last 12 years is teaching people what I learned in the business, which is how do you get to the meat of the matter quickly. So I work with people in 3 areas, basically getting them ready for the spotlight. So whether it's speeches and presentations or media interviews, or when you're networking. So I do public speaking coaching, media training, and then I work with companies and individuals on their elevator speech. And that's where the book came from. All of it was an outgrowth of teaching people how to get to that essential sound bite.
Well,
which isn't easy.
No. Well, remember what we used to do? People would say, well, what do you do? And we go, well, we have a radio show.
Right.
And that usually did get attention. But then they go, okay, well, what's it about? Well, so it was interesting, our process to figure out how do you say it quickly, because why we call it an elevator speech is you're coming up an elevator and you have what?
You have 30 seconds.
Maybe, not even that.
Or 10 seconds to get their attention.
That's it. You really, in this day of information overload, you really have 7 to 10 seconds before somebody changes channels on you.
Right.
And you can see it when it happens. You start talking, and then all of a sudden, their eyes glaze over and they're gone.
Right.
So the idea is to cut through that and have them stay with you just a little bit longer so you can tell them what you're all about. And I'm so honored. I think it's really great. Listening to you earlier when you were talking about and giving your elevator speech, what's really great about it is that you're thrilled with it. And when you're thrilled with it, it resonates and it captures your audience. So I think having that passion and that excitement about it is also part of the equation.
Well, I thought the process was very interesting because you asked Rochelle and I thought some difficult questions, and for us, it made us think about what is our business about. And that was really a good exercise, more than just that the elevator speech came out of it, that we had to really think about what is it we're doing here, because Rochelle and I are sort of la-la-las, right? We're like having this great time, having this wonderful radio show, but what's our mission? And you really helped us sort of hone that down, which was very good.
Well, and you've created a brand coming out of all of that, starting with the radio show and the elevator speech. All of that contributes to your overall brand, so that when people tune in or when they go to your website, there's a feeling or an experience that you want your listeners and your viewers, when they see it on the web, an experience that you want them to have. And that's the essence of your brand. And it grows and it changes as you grow and change. And so I think you mentioned earlier about refreshing it, and that's exactly right. Your elevator speech is not something that's set in concrete that you just rattle off day in and day out forever. You want to keep it fresh so that you're interested in it, but also it really captures what you're doing now.
Well, I think part of what happens, too, is that you do give us a guidance and a direction. Because we had the information, we just didn't know what we had. So you give us a guide, you give us a guideline, you give us the road, and you're right. As the company changes, as we change, we add to it, so that we can say now we do events, now we're doing video, our website. So there's a lot that adds to it, but the meat of it was the radio show.
And that's exactly right. And there's a framework in the book. There are 10 questions that I ask people to look at in order to get at your elevator speech. And it starts with two really important questions. Who's your audience and what do they care about? If you don't know who you are trying to reach or who you're trying to influence, you're dead in the water. And then what do they care about? Meaning what's important to them. Oftentimes, and this is true with speaking and media interviews, if you just chatter on and forget about your audience, you're missing a huge opportunity. So it's really the heart and soul of it is understanding who your audience is, what do they care about, and then putting your message in their context. That's what I did with you. We went through the questions, who's your audience, what do they care about, what are you trying to do? What do you want to be known for? You know, what are you selling? What are the things, what's the value that people are going to get out of listening or being involved or engaged with Chat with Women? So we went through, and you're right, it does take a long time. But once you have it, you're stronger and more confident about it.
Absolutely.
And you're in a better position to market what you're doing.
Well, let's talk about your book a little bit. I mean, I think it's really important that we talk about Give Your Elevator Speech a Lift, second edition. And we want to talk about personal branding. Because when we did this 4 years ago, it was really about the company Chat with Women, right? So what do you mean by personal branding and what is it?
Personal branding is really a combination of how we see ourselves and how others see us. And I think this whole notion, it started actually way back in 1997 when Tom Peters wrote an article for Fast Company magazine. The article was titled The Brand Called You. And ever since then, there have been books written about it, lots of articles. But the idea is, like big companies like Starbucks or McDonald's or Nike, we all individually are creating a personal brand. And I think it's come to the fore now because of all of the turmoil in the business world. There are more people out there now who are looking for work. There are people who are in job transition. And what they're needing to do is create a personal brand so that when they're out there in front of a prospective employer, they stand for something. They're memorable. And so it's very much like, marketing yourself like a product. Now, I don't want to make it sound really crass. I mean, it's not like you're a box of detergent.
I see Kellogg.
Exactly. Well, that may be peppy and slim and, vital and all of that. That may be part of your brand. And so if you're communicating that and living that, then you're consistent.
Okay. Well, then how do I know what my personal brand is?
Well, I think you look again at what are the things that are important to you, how do other people see you, and is it consistent? In other words, you're here creating a forum for women of a certain age, women boomers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so what are you providing them, and do you do it consistently? And I know I've seen you two, and we've been friends for a long time, so I know kind of the balance and the two of you together. You're the fun one. Pam is the serious one.
Wise and wacky.
Excuse me.
Rock and roll.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So those are that's your part of your brand, and that's what you stand for. And when people see you in person, you are totally consistent with that. I mean, I think of the great ones, Ethel and Lucy, Laverne and Shirley. It's very similar.
Abbott and Costello.
There you go. Pam and Rochelle. So
that's the one I was going to say. Perfect.
There you go. So, and that's living your brand. And so it's a combination of your reputation, but it's also part of how you see yourself and what you want to project to people.
Well, how does your elevator speech work into this personal brand then?
Well, your elevator speech helps you communicate your personal brand, and it helps you build it. So when you're out there meeting people for the first time, from the get-go, they're making assessments and judgments about you by the way you look, how you speak, how you move, all of that. So your elevator speech is real. And when you think about it, the first question people usually ask you after you say your name is, well, tell me, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Always. Mm-hmm.
So it's that being able to respond to that question in a memorable way.
Then how do you know if you're living your personal brand?
Well, I would say it's your gut. How do you feel when you're out there? And are you getting the reaction you want? Are people responding to you? Are you generating more viewers? Are people saying, ooh, let me have your business card? So it's a combination of how do you feel? Does it feel right in your gut? And then are people responding in the way that you want them to? Are you gathering people or are you pushing them away? Do they run screaming into the night?
I always love that. Do they run screaming into the night? Do they, Rochelle, when you say
it depends.
do they run
They
screaming
run.
into the night?
No, they always come back for more.
I want you to know that we are speaking this morning to Lorraine Howell, who is the author of Give Your Elevator Speech a Lift, second edition, and she is the owner of Media Skills Training. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to find out a little bit more about our personal brand and how do we actually create a personal brand. This is Chat with Women. We'll be right back.